Okay, good evening everybody and welcome to FTRL's Week 8 for GT1 round Daytona. You will have myself on comms tonight, going solo. This is the first time I've ever done this, so be prepared for some absolute jank commentary, but that's what we're all here for, and that is the full experience. We'll be getting underway with quali in a minute. We have GT1 tonight, obviously. Last night, Team USA, which I am part of, we went quite well around here. So you have Blue Flag, Pagani and Tom Duval all hoping to pick up big double points this week as we get ready. I will pull up the standings in a brief moment and talk through them. Derek, good evening. I hope you can hear me. Let me know if you can, because that's going to be really awkward if I've spoken to myself and you couldn't hear me. Oh good, right, there we go. And by the looks of it, Lee is ready to get us underway. So, GT1 obviously leading the championship at the moment. This man, T. Smith, comfortable lead, looks set for what I believe is a 14th FTRL title. He's got his teammate SBY just behind him, and it would be Aaron in third, but Aaron, I believe, is replaced by Owen tonight. Then you got Lee in fourth. Lee was at Daytona too early and is now back tonight as he looks to pull himself back into that podium battle. You've got Biggles in fifth. Panda is sixth, but he is being covered by Unsafe, I believe. Unsafe, yeah. Then you've got a couple of Italian cars as I struggle to find them. You've got Graham. Where's Ross? You've got Feber, obviously, Ross as well, then Pagani, Blue Flag, Tom Duval and Andy, all lower down the order than they'd like, and then Dusty, who's jumped in to that Japan seat, and we have Bread. Unsafe for Aaron over Panda, right, okay, I'll try and remember that, but yeah, obviously Bread on home turf, but not home turf. He's taken up that Japan seat for the final few weeks. We'll see him go around in the GTR, which seemed to struggle last night, but we'll see how that goes. So who do we want to follow? Who's furthest up front? Tom's furthest up front, so we'll follow Tom for a lap. Good evening, Joker. And yeah, so Tom coming through this section, which is not going to favour the Peugeot as we saw last night. So he comes down into the infield, and I really don't. And then he'll come to the final corner in the infield, which is this left-hander, which can be quite easy to get the car a bit squirrely, lose the back end, but Tom, as good as ever, just keeps that nice and planted as he comes on to the start of the oval section. And we say this is where the Peugeot will be at its biggest disadvantage, especially without any sort of tow along the infield. You've got Ross just behind him, so Ross will want to try and get some of this slipstream to improve his lap time, but we'll see Tom through the rest of the lap. Well, he goes way past that white line and gets it stopped beautifully, follows the chicane round. He should get away with no penalty there and around the final corner, but yeah, that's the first time I've seen how much later everyone can brake through that bus stop chicane. Tom braking a good 50 metres later there than I would in the Viper. So he gets into 6th gear now, comes down through the end of the lap, and what is this going to be for Tom to set our first lap? 1:47.4. Well, 47.2 from Ross immediately, so these two very much on the pace straight away. We've got Lee with a 47.9, SBY 47.6, Biggles with a 51, so he'll be disappointed with that lap. Unsafe coming through with a 48. Owen, what's that, 48 flat, and a 47.7 for Bread, so some good lap times posted early by the GTRs there. I know, speaking to Lee, he said he'd not done a single 47 lap time in practice, so already a good start. Andy goes 2 tenths faster than him into 5th. We've got SBY into 4th as Tom Duval goes 3rd with a 47.5. Blue flag 52, so I'm going to assume something's gone wrong on that lap, but yeah, as we can see here, Ross and Tom out front as we'd expect. Pagani 48.8, he'll not be happy with that. Feber 54, you can assume there's an issue there or he's backed off. But yeah, 3 of the Peugeots in the top 6, so great start to them for qualifying. But let's go to the lead Viper in Tom Duval. Now, he's already 2.5 tenths up. Viper's in desperate need of this double points week to try and clamber towards the top of the standings. Well, currently we've been bottom, I think, since week 2, looking to overtake Team Japan tonight with the double points, but a little bit of a slim hope of maybe catching Italy and maybe picking up 3rd place. So yeah, let's look at the gaps. So you got Ross just behind Tom on track, is 2 tenths quicker. Tom Duval 3 tenths back, SBY 4 tenths, Bread just under 5 tenths. So that's a really good lap from Bread, that 47.7. He's obviously abandoned this lap. Well, let's go back to Tom. Well, there's the other Tom, 47.3, just under a tenth behind Ross. Ross doesn't improve this lap. SBY comes across the line, 47.7, just slower. Biggles improves to P10 to try and find where people are on track. Let's go back to Tom Duval because I know where he is, that'll be easiest. I haven't seen if he's up on this lap, but he'll be hoping that the power of that Viper will drag him the podium. As Andy sets a 47 flat, Tom Duval 47.1, so Andy on pole provisionally in that Peugeot, and never mind, blue flag comes absolutely storming through, as does Pagani, and that's where we're talking about that Viper pace around Daytona here. And the provisional pole with a 47.0, which in that Peugeot is an absolutely storming lap, considering its power disadvantages. He does go purple through sector 1, but Pagani and blue flag, this could be a feast for them this evening, as they are, well, blue flag's 2 tenths clear of Pagani, who's another 3.5 clear of Andy. So Tom Duval would be trying to put it in to a Viper front 3 if he can. He's just 7 thousandths behind Andy. So yeah, the Vipers early on in quali, as Derek says, showing that they are a cheat code around here and absolutely flying. 46.5 is an absurd lap. I think my optimal last night was like a 46.9 had I put a perfect lap together. But here come Tom and Ross round again. So we've really got 2 more laps for everyone here. Ross not going to improve, Tom not improving. SBY, he's about 3.5 tenths adrift. SBY, that's a fantastic lap in the Peugeot. He does a 46.7 to go 2.5 tenths, just under 3 tenths off pole. Lee improved as well. He goes 47.7 up to P9. Owen with a good lap for him, 47.8 in the Audi. Dusty improves, P12 with a 48.2. He'll be looking for a bit more at the lap. Andy improves again. He jumps Tom Duval. So we've got about half a tenth separating the top 4. Well, half a second. But SBY and Andy placing that Peugeot beautifully, and surprisingly it's T. Smith who is the trailing Peugeot as Feber sets his best lap time to go in between Dusty and Biggles. So the Italian team struggling by the looks of it. Graham down in 15th, Feber 13th. with Ross up in P6, but let's have a look. So Graham, Graham's just improved as they come round, so he's up into 12th. I do apologise for my jumping between people as I try and find them on track. So blue flag's coming through the infield, Pagani's just past there. Trying to find someone where I can see let's see if Ross and Tom are up on this lap. Ross is a second down, Tom, well, I have no idea, so we'll stick with them because they're going to get one more lap in after this. So Tom, we're looking to use the slipstream of Ross. I don't know if they're intentionally working together, you would assume not, being on different teams, but they have been teammates multiple times in the past. And T. Smith to the line. It's an improvement, but he's only going to jump Ross with that 47.2. SBY coming round. He's dropped down to one. Leaders a 47.3, so comfortably his best lap. God, it's very hard to find people. Here's SBY. Unsafe 48 flat as well. SBY is not on a fast lap, nor is Andy. So those two will not be improving here. Dusty does a 47.9. Owen's done a 47.7. Tom Duval to the line. Can he put it third with the other two Vipers? He's not going to improve that lap. Pagani coming around. He's a second down on his lap. So Bieber improves, but again, not going to be enough. Who's the person? Is that Brad? That's Brad. Way out the back. He's not going to improve that lap, and he's also gone off the road. So let's go round to the front if we can. Try and find these people on the last lap. So T. Smith. Tom Smith is up. So the Peugeot's running well here tonight. Ross has fallen way away, so Ross has abandoned lap. So Ross is going to be 7th at best. T. Smith through the bus stop and onto the final straight. Is he still up? He's got another 10th quicker, so T. Smith could be looking to move up over Tom Duval here. He's 7.5 tenths off blue flag. He's not going to trouble the Vipers, but can he jump in with his teammates and create a bit of a Peugeot blockade behind the Vipers? T. Smith to the line. It's going to be a 47 flat, so he will jump Tom Duval. And I'm going to try and find his behind him. Lee coming to the line, not going to improve. Biggles looks like he'll improve. He will. He jumps to 14th. SBY, so here he comes to the line. Unsafe does a 47.5. SBY does not improve, so we'll go on board. Well, we'll jump on with blue flag. Tom Duval's actually just ahead of him. Is Tom Duval going to improve his position with the Vipers? Looking to do faster than a 47. No improvement for Tom Duval. Blue flag to the line. Just under a 10th slower. No improvement from Graham there. Pagani, no, he's way off it comparatively. And last day on the line, Ross obviously not improving. So 10 minutes qualifying action over, and it's a Viper front row, as you can see there. Blue flag and Pagani out in front. Blue flag comfortably out in front with the 46.4. Pagani the 46.6 just. SBY, Andy, and then T. Smith locking out 3 through 5 for the Peugeots, which is a fantastic set of laps in the Peugeots, especially with the power disadvantage. Tom Duval in 6th. So the top 6 locked out by Team USA and Team France. Ross the lead, Lamborghini with a 47.2. Lee in a good 47.3 lap time is the lead GTR. Unsafe covering for Aaron in 9th, Brett in 10th, Owen 11th, Dusty 12th, and then down at the bottom of the order you've got Graham 13th, Biggles 14th, and Fieber in 15th. So Team USA, Team France looking fantastic. Germany and Italy, not the best thing for them. So Germany looking to catch Team France heading into their double points week later on in the season. And here we go. Blue flag and Pagani will look to work together to race away from the pack. And we'll just go on board with SBY. As you see, Pagani there just pulls miles away from them. So let's see, Andy, Tom, all line astern. Tom Duval, he'll be the interesting one here. Can he work his way past the French trio to try and move further forward and go down through the pack? Well, go back to Tom Duval. He's going to go around the outside of T. Smith, almost into the back of Andy. I think he may have clipped him there. Tries to hang around the outside, won't. Ooh, gets a bit squirrely. Will that interest Ross? No, that Piper, even getting squirrely on the outside, just too much power, and he pulls away comfortably. And again, Tom Duval here going down the inside of Team Smith. It's a forceful, but he gets the move. Can he finish it? Bit of wheel banging. Tom Duval forced to the outside by T. Smith, and T. Smith holds position, and that'll interest Ross. So Tom Duval trying to get forceful, make his way past the Peugeots, and he finds himself behind Ross, but as you can see here, all over the back of him with that slipstream. The question is, can he make the move through the bus stop? He's going to try and pull alongside. Ross is going to get the slip from T. Smith, and Tom Duval sensibly backs out as Ross gives T. Smith a nudge. So that's going to unsettle the lead Peugeot. Lee now all over the back of Tom Duval. As you see those front four start to scamper away, and Tom Duval, who may have been wanting to look for P3, is now maybe settling in for, at best, a P5 as T. Smith, as you see here, 2 seconds behind Andy. He's losing so much time. He is the championship leader, but he's got a comfortable lead. But as you can see here, Tom Duval using that Viper's power to try and hang it around the outside. Can he hold it through the brakes? Doesn't want to get out on the grass, on the tarmac, sorry, and yeah, not what Tom Duval needed. Gets out on the tarmac, and now he's got to fight with unsafe for P8. So Tom Duval trying to be forceful, and he's found himself sinking thus far. Though he's still in touch, which is unsafe. Backs out there. So Tom Duval back in P8. He's going to look to try and work forward. Tom, don't think he'll be too concerned about pressing forward. He's such as his championship lead, especially over teammate SBY. But he'll perhaps try and preserve a gap for Andy and SBY to try and drive home France's advantage at the top of the standings. And so far, SBY and Andy keeping in touch with the Vipers. Pagani and Blue Flag not yet managed to break away, but we have got this split here. P5, T. Smith, is almost a 3-second gap opening up there, as you can see. We'll go on board with Ross as he gives Tom a nudge. So Ross doing the smart thing, not trying to force an overtake here, trying to nudge T. Smith back towards his Team France teammates, try and close down that gap so Ross can maximise his points. We'll go to SBY. As you can see, he's making inroads to Pagani, but such is the power of the Viper that he's, dented half a tenth in such a long stretch of road. I don't think there's going to be anything on for SBY, but SBY does set the fastest lap of the race in the slipstream. Andy dropping off a little bit as they go into the infield. SBY, does he shape a move down the inside? No. Again, stays patient. I think Blue Flag and Pagani perhaps maybe not run away as much as they would have liked. We'll go back to this midfield battle. He's still got this battle between Tom, Ross, unsafe, Tom Duval and Lee. Biggles not too far behind as he leads Brad, Graham, Odon, Fever and Dusty. So a really tight pack at the moment in GT1. So not much movement as far as I can tell. Unsafe think's made a couple of places. Lee sort of as he was. Brad gets a little out of shape back there, and that's going to cost him as Graham slips by. Crucial points for Team Italy. Will Owen have a look as they head down to the bus stop? See the slipstream powerful for a lot of cars, but the Viper will have it best. Brad actually looks here like he might get a move on Graham, so after losing out the place, Brad, will he shape to the inside? No, he opts to just stick in the slip of Graham, perhaps try and work closer to Biggles. And Brad staying patient. There's Lee all over the back of Tom Duval here. Again, will Lee go for a move or do what Brad did? And it looks like he may do what Brad did, but the nudge you give these Vipers can actually be really powerful, as Lee has essentially bumped Tom Duval past unsafe release here. Oh, a bit of contact with unsafe, but Tom Duval, that's almost 2 seconds faster that lap for him, as he gets it stopped and gets it turned. So he'll now look to attack Tom and Ross. And back at the front, Pagani gets a little out of shape there. Andy with the fastest lap in the 4th man in this slipstream train. As we get past the causeway mark, as you can see, gap now up to 4 seconds. T. Smith essentially just creating a barrier, and I think he's, barring any issues, this should be our top 4. We'll see though if the Peugeots can make any moves on the Vipers. You think they'll have to stay patient, make that move late on, because that Viper in the slipstream will just fly straight back past. So the interesting one here at the front is Pagani not particularly making any inroads into blue flag. I think they don't want to trip over each other. See the Viper down to 4th, low 90s, then get on the power. And Pagani is in a bit of danger here because he is out of the slipstream range of blue flag now. And SBY, he's in it, but as you can see, he's so far back in it that Pagani is able to just eke out that advantage. And is this the moment where we see the two Vipers run away with it? So SBY is now pretty much out of it. He'll look to stick with them through the infield. He's 8 tenths back, and you see there in the braking zone as Andy gets a bit wide. He pulls back almost 2 tenths in the braking zone, but Pagani uses that acceleration to move back out ahead. And, Tom Duval, so double issue for Ross here. Tom Duval's worked his way past him into P6, and Ross now will have a half-second penalty to serve at the end of this lap, which should see Unsafe and Lee clear him and possibly drop him back into the clutches of Biggles. This back 5 not quite been able to do anything to make any inroads, Dusty starting to slip away from the pack, but he sets a personal best sector. Bread's not got back past Graham, so Graham is looking to attack Biggles. They'll need to work together to move back up. Well, let's see what Ross does here. Does Ross go for the move or just accept his fate? I think we almost lost the string there for a second. Yeah, so as we were, here's Ross preparing to serve his penalty. So he's pulled away from Unsafe and Lee, but this penalty should drop him all the way back to them. As you can see there, huge time lost for Ross. Unsafe doesn't go for the move. Will stick in behind Ross, who's now sort of out of this battle with Tom Duval and T. Smith. So we'll continue to stick with this midfield battle as Tom Duval again getting racy with T. Smith, trying to force that move. But I think at this point even Tom Duval and that Viper is just going to be too far back from the Peugeots to make anything more than fifth. So for him it's probably a case of getting this move on T. Smith and then trying to scamper away from this battling pack. So here we go, onto the bus stop. This is where Tom Duval can really show the Viper's power. 4 tenths back, coming onto the oval, and he's already within touching distance. Will he shape for the move? He opts to push T. Smith. So this is where the strategy gets interesting for Tom Duval here. I really don't think he's going to make up 4.5 seconds if he goes by T. Smith. So his only option is to push him forward and see if he can somehow work towards SBY and Andy. SBY out of slipstream, but they're keeping touch with the Vipers here. They're not out of this just yet, but I think Pagani and Blue Flag now looking to scamper away if they can. Tom Duval's done the fastest lap. Andy again just sits in behind SBY, and Andy almost runs into the back of his teammate and then goes wide, so he now may lose touch with SBY. Tom Duval and T. Smith, so that gap does come down a little bit. Tom Duval going to have to do his best. Well, and there goes any semblance of strategy. I thought he might just try and push T. Smith forward, but he makes the move on the inside. Beautifully done. And he now up into P5. More points for the Vipers, who are of course on double points this week. And now it's about keeping that Peugeot behind him, because he's got a train to keep behind. Unsafe release clinging onto it as Lee is trying to keep hold of Ross. So this midfield pack starting to splinter. Ross would want to keep pace with T. Smith and Tom Duval. T. Smith looked to shape the inside of Tom Duval there, but now Tom Duval, as you see, that gap was starting to go up a little bit. So even so, you know, 2.25 seconds behind, that Peugeot really unable to make proper inroads in the slipstream. But now he's closing. Will T. Smith push Tom Duval or just back out? Brakes as late as he dare without running into the back. Gets on the power. And they're starting to drop Ross as well. So yeah, this midfield pack really starting to splinter around the halfway mark. Biggles has still got Graham for company. Feber and Brad and Odon together, with Dusty now trailing in the back. So really starting to split off into their smaller groups. Pagani still maintains the slipstream to Blue Flag ever so slightly. SBY now 1.9. Very deep into the braking zone there. I think trying to just make up too much time as he straight lines that corner. Should be a penalty, I would have thought, for SBY. Yeah, picks up a penalty. So not the smartest move. Absolutely no problem, Mike. As long as the stream stays up, I think we'll call that a success. But yeah, been a good race so far. Not too many moves going on as T. Smith continues to stick with Tom Duval, who broke very late there. But yeah, SBY is going to drop behind Andy, which will really cement the Viper 1-2. And he's obviously far too back for Tom Duval to make any inroads. And the gap's come down a little bit from when Tom Duval got by T. Smith, but T. Smith not bothered by that at all. Up the inside onto the oval. But that's the thing, Tom Duval will come down, get back in that slipstream, and then as soon as or as late as he dare, just goes back to the outside and should get back ahead. As he just drags by. Will T. Smith stick it up the inside? He does. And T. Smith, whether it's genuinely for the points or just to prevent Tom Duval having any hope of catching his teammates, he is making Tom Duval work for that P5. And Lee's dropped away from Ross, who's clinging on to this battle. Who we got off at the back? Dusty, at some point this lap, has had enough, as he's 17 seconds back. So yeah, not what he wanted in the GTR, but it will be a reverse grid pole, perhaps a chance to do something in the endurance. Brad in the GTR also has dropped off the back of Owen and Feber, so I hope in the endurance is what it will have to be for the GTRs as the sprinters done. Feber seemingly clips the tyre wall there, and Owen, I think perhaps a bit cautiously, backs off. I don't know if Owen perhaps made contact with Feber, but he does now go up the inside, and that's 2 crucial points for Team Germany. Oh, we've got Biggles round. Almost collects Brad. Disaster for Team Germany. Owen and Unsafe are already getting 2 sets of half points. But so as Owen gains 2 points going past Fieber. Biggles drops behind Brad. And so Germany will be looking to pick up big endurance points to try and bolster their hopes of that team's title. Back out from as we approach 3 laps to go. Andy falling away from the Vipers as we expected. I think it's going to be a procession 1-2 for Blue Flag and Pagani. Whether Andy swaps position with SBY later for the championship points, we'll see. But that's solid points for Team France as they try and edge out as much of a gap as they can ahead of Germany's double points in the final week. Oh, T. Smith has got past Tom Duval, and Tom Duval's made a mistake somewhere because he's dropped behind Ross, so that's another 4 points that Tom Duval's missing out on. 2 seconds slower that lap. His last 2 laps have been really poor actually, Tom Duval. So he's now got 3 laps to try and correct those errors and get himself into the top 5. Lee starting to enter no man's land, but I think he will be, pleased given the circumstances of the GTR here. Clearly struggling at this track, and I think limited practice for Lee after he returned from Daytona itself, as he goes 4 tenths up on his fastest lap. So Lee not out of this battle yet. Tom Duval, really tries to force these moves and slows up Ross and T. Smith. There's a chance Lee could, be in for a P5, which would be a great result in that GTR. Unsafe, filling in for Aaron, just pulling away from Graham there. And you've got Owen and Fieber battling it out for points low down. Biggles catching back up to Brad. So he'll be hoping to just add a point, any point for Germany. He'll be frustrated, not been the best race for him anyway. He was down in 11th. So again, big opportunity in the endurance for Germany as we go to Fieber. And he will give Owen a nudge. Fieber clearly wanting to leave that move as late as he dare. And where else is battling? I think this is the battle to stick with. As Ross and T. Smith vie for P5. Tom Duval trying to cling on. I think he'll be disappointed. Qualified P5. Tried to get forceful with the moves early on. Didn't work out. Slipped down the field, and now just trying to put himself as far forward as he can. And as I say, we say forceful. Goes for the move on Ross. Lets him back by though, so I think Tom Duval realising he's perhaps gone a bit too much there. And he cedes the position as he's got about a lap and a half now. As he goes for the move on the inside of Ross here, coming up to the oval, but as earlier with T. Smith, Ross is going to be able to force Tom Duval to the outside. Tom Duval backs out of it, looks to get the traction onto the oval, wiggles a bit. But there's that torque in the Viper. He's going to be low down, and it's not going to matter for Ross because that Viper is just going to fly past him. Can Ross use a slipstream to give himself an opportunity back into the bus stop? T. Smith pulling away from them now. So this is where Tom Duval's choices of where he wants to make these moves perhaps not doing him any good. He's got about a second and a half to T. Smith now. I don't think he's going to make up a second in a lap, so he really needs a mistake on the infield from T. Smith. That gap is coming down though. Is it coming down enough? 1.2. I think he's going to be about a second behind as they hit the braking zone for turn 1. And so the end of that straight really starts to come down. Just under a second. How late does Tom Duval dare brake? Gets it turned in, and he may just have a shot at this. Tom Duval, 9 tenths. He may have to make the move right at the end of the lap, but we'll stick with this battle. Ross sticking with Tom Duval here as we go into the chase camp as we prepare for the infield. That gap's still holding at 9/10. Tom Duval there, just needs a smooth exit. T. Smith though, fantastic exit as he pushes the gap up to a second. Just get on the power as early as you can. A little bit of a slide, so that gap goes up to 1.1, but Tom Duval's 0.2 up on his personal best. But T. Smith must also be up because this gap's barely changed. Down to the bus stop. Still almost 0.2 up. And he's going to have to get this bus stop perfect, Tom Duval. So don't think he's going to have slipstream without it. Perhaps a little bit of an early shift change, but he is going to get it. So we'll come to that right at the end. But with teammate on his tail, Blue Flag is going to pick up the win and double points in the Viper as Pagani comes across P2. Andy slows up to let SBY take the points, and Tom Duval not going to have enough track. Gap down to 3.5 tenths, but it's P6, Ross P7, Lee in a good result in the GTR, P8, unsafe in P9, covering for Aaron, Graham in P10, Owen in the Audi covering for Panda in 11th, FIBA P12, Biggles got by Brett in the end comfortably for P13, so he recovers a position after his mishap. It's going to be 14th and 15th though for the GTRs. Not what they wanted, but obviously the points come in the endurance, so they'll be looking for as many big ones as they can. Perhaps a one stop on the cards for them to try and just counter the performance difference. Excuse me. But yeah, needed points for the Vipers in the double points week, as Blue Flag takes a victory. I believe that's his second. I'm going to have to pull up the standings again. I believe that's Blue Flag's second victory of the season. And here we got one covering in GT2. But yeah, pull up the results. No, that's Blue Flag's first victory in GT1. I apologise, it was Pagani who picked up the other Viper victory. So they're not the fastest lap, well, the three fastest laps as you can see there for the Vipers. Blue Flag leading the way in P1, followed closely by Pagani, P2, as that was really just a procession for them at the end. They'll be starting at the back in the endurance, but hoping to work their way forward. We'll just back out while Lee does the settings. Yep, so oh no, Tom Duval started P6, I've just remembered. So top six as they were, Blue Flag led Pagani, SBY, Andy and T. Smith in a trio of Peugeots, which is a really good result for them around here. And obviously Andy at the end letting SBY through to pick up the extra point, as SBY looks for P2 in the standings. Tom Duval with the fastest lap there by 5 thousandths of a second from Blue Flag. Ross P7 in the 46s, so good result for him. In the lead Lamborghini, Lee in P8 in the GTR. I think I'll be pleased with that. Unsafe covering for Aaron in P9. Graham P10, Owen in the final Audi in P11, FIBA P12 in the final Lambo, and Biggles after that spin at the end dropped to P13, and then Brad and Dusty at the back in the GTRs. Viper dominance could bore fans, that it could. Unsafe. I think the danger was more Blue Flag and Pagani getting bored at the front, but no, excellent result for the Vipers at the home circuit. And we've lost an unsafe. So while we're in this race break, if you haven't done so, please like the stream, drop a comment who you think is going to win the endurance race. It will be the GTRs at the front of Brad and Dusty. The question will be, of the Peugeots and the Vipers who will find their way through. You would expect the Vipers to make their way through quickly, but can Team France hold them up? Do anything to stop them? Blue Flag and Pagani, I think based on last night, we'll be hoping they can charge their way through, and based on the lap times as well in the sprint, come through and take a double 1-2. Derek says Biggles to win, master the one stop. That's true. Aaron did the one stop last night. I think he finished about 10 seconds behind me in the end. So yeah, Aaron proving that the one stop very doable in the Audi. Excuse me. Biggles will be starting P3. So his issue, well, it won't necessitate needing to get by the GTRs, though I'm sure he wouldn't mind. But yeah, certainly a great chance for Biggles P3, especially if he can pull off the one stop. I think there may have been some whispers of the GTRs potentially trying the one stop as well. I think after last night, I think that if you're going to one stop, you need a clean race. No use getting held up in battles or any mishaps, because I think Aaron at the end just lost so much time, especially when everyone doing the two-stop went on to fresh mediums. But we'll see. There's certainly potential for it to be done. But yeah, this is I think where Germany needs to take advantage. They lost out to France in the sprint, but with it being 2 points per position in the endurance, they'll be hoping to hold firm ahead of them, especially losing out points with Unsafe and Owen covering. They'll need to finish ahead of them if they can here, although Germany have the bonus of the double points week in 2 weeks' time, and that is where I think France will want to make sure they finish ahead of them again here, try and just push out as much of an advantage as they can. As we'll hopefully be getting underway shortly. Let's have a look at tyres. So Biggles has the hards on at the moment, as does Ross, Graham, Owen on the mediums, SBY on the mediums, Smith on the hards, Pagani on the hards, Unsafe on the hards, Lee mediums, Ross hards, Bread mediums, hards for Blue Flag and Andy, Tom Duval, Dusty mediums, and Fieber on the hards. So Blue Flag, Pagani on the hards, interesting one. I believe myself, Glyn and Goose all did medium, hard, medium last night. But those boys clearly wanting get the hardston out of the way and then get some nice clean air on the mediums and just go hell for leather. But we'll see how it plays out. There's a lot of hard runners. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 runners on the mediums, 9 on the hards, as long as no one switches last second. So that's where, starting on the hards may not work out for Pagani and Blue Flag, because they're going to have, quite a few other cars stopping around the same time as them. I think Owen did a very short hard stint last night in GT2, so it will come down to how long people want to go on those hard tyres. As I assume we're just waiting for some mid-race breaks to be done. But yeah, as I say, anyone wants to drop their win predictions, let me know. As always, drop a like on the stream, as I'm hoping we'll get going shortly. And obviously, as with last night, night race as well, so the lights something to contend with. We'll see if anyone has the idea that some drivers had last night of using the lights to try and force an error. Yeah, it's a very interesting one. We'll just back out to view the grid here. not even sure who I think would win. I think my race last night and biasness to my own team, I would assume, as long as it's a clean one of the boys and the Vipers will manage to come through and take the win. But I think the key thing is how quickly they get through that pack early on. I think I led by lap 7, lap 8. So it may be a bit different for Pagani and Blue Flag, obviously starting on the hards. Was Tom Duval on the mediums or the hards? Tom Duval's on the medium, so I think Tom Duval is probably the one to watch here, as he'll look to move through the pack quicker than Pagani and Blue Flag, and obviously starting further forward ahead of the Peugeot, so yeah, I think early moves is going to be the key for the Vipers. I don't think the Peugeot, last night's Peugeots was perhaps representative of where they are in the endurance. Obviously tonight those GT1 boys rapid and contending with the Vipers for a long time in that race. What is the hold up? I don't know, Joker, if I'm perfectly honest. Lee having a tea maybe? Yeah. I'm running out of things to talk about, if I'm perfectly honest. There we go. Delay over, and we'll get ready to go. Yeah, we'll see if any of those boys in the Audi or the Lambos can make some good progress. Switchback in the Lamborghini last night, I think was P3. He had a great chance. I think perhaps just a bit too much work to do to catch Aaron on the one stop. We'll see if there are any more than one stop at Biggles, obviously. I think Derek highlighted as a man to watch out for on the one stop. Owen, I think we potentially may see try that. But we'll watch the GTRs into turn 1 as we'll go on board with Biggles. He starts on the hards, Dusty and Brett on the mediums. Any dramas into turn 1. So slowly work our way back. Looks like all good. Andy's a bit wide with SBY next to him. Will he let him go perhaps? Looks like Andy's getting SBY further forward. Pagani also going for it on Andy. Clips SBY. And I think Andy will hold position in the end. No, Pagani's alongside, and Pagani's going to make his way past here. So Andy lets SBY go. And not only does he lose out to Pagani, I think he's going to lose out to Blue Flag here. Blue Flag to the outside on the hards. So the Vipers making a couple of positions early. Tom Duval's got by Ross as well on the mediums. Looked for a move on Lee, but again found himself on the outside. You know, Graham and Fieber side by side here, both on the hards as Fieber tucks in. So we're already getting a split from the top 4. Can Graham and Fieber work their way forward? Tom Duval drags past Lee to find himself P8 already. And he's going to go for the move on unsafe release as well. Tom Duval, 3 points by the time they reach the bus stop chicane. So on those mediums, making that choice pay dividends early, as he now looks to make a move on the 2 Lamborghinis ahead of him. Sits in the slipstream. When does he opt to pull out? They can box him in if the Lamborghinis do it correctly. Now Tom Duval pulls to the outside. Does Fieber do the same? No, it's Graham who moves to the outside with Owen just ahead of him, and Tom Duval's by Fieber. Looks to go up the inside of Graham and does it. So Tom Duval 5 positions in a lap, and now he's got Owen ahead of him, and he'll want to make that move quickly, work towards the top 3 who are all on hards. Owen's on mediums. So Biggles, Brad and Dusty, your front 3. Biggles holding firm with the Vipers, excuse me again, as the GTRs look to do the work that they can on those medium tyres. Tom Duval now making the move on Owen. Again, he loves to go to the outside, Tom Duval, but I don't think it's working there. He constantly gets forced, but he switches to the inside. Not going to get it going on to the oval. But now he's going to use all of that slipstream assistance as that Viper just closes in so fast. He's going to push Owen initially, but I think he's then going to make the move into the bus stop, which he's pulled off numerous times tonight. Lovely shot of the cars into the bus stop. Tom Duval, he doesn't do it. He backs off. And that may have been the incorrect decision to push Owen, but he should get him into turn 1. Just behind, you've got Graham leading Unsafe, Feber and Lee. Blue flag's made his way into P10, and Pagani has had an off somewhere because he's slipped to the back. But he's 5 seconds off the back, so not what Pagani needed on those hard tyres. So now, I mean, it's clean air, but he's got some catching up to do. SBY and Andy and T Smith, those Peugeots, not making any inroads as they now trail Ross. Blue flag on the back of this Graham train. Tom Duval still battling with Owen. Goes round the outside again. Can he hold it? He does. Does he get the move? He does. Owen slots in behind. So Tom Duval P10 to P4 in 2 and a bit laps. As Biggles looked like he might have been shaping on Brad there. But I think this midfield battle's the interesting one. You've got 2 Lamborghinis, an Audi, a Viper, a GTR, and actually Ross, Smith, SBY and Andy have latched onto it, and Pagani may actually still get back onto it. I'm not actually sure what happened to Pagani. 157 that lap. I'm going to assume an error on the infield. Yeah, not really sure where he could have lost it, because obviously we were paying attention to Tom Duval cutting through the field, but Pagani, despite that, is closing that gap at some rate of knots. It was 5 seconds when he was starting to recover, and he's already halved it, so perhaps not going to lose touch to the Peugeots in this hard stint, but he'd have wanted to make some progress. It's Graham building up this train. In terms of fuel, I mean, it's early, but everyone's sort of around 3/4 of a tank. Blue flags used more fuel as expected. Pagani picks up a penalty at the bus stop as well, so that halts his progress again. So, fantastic sprint. The endurance not going to plan for Pagani thus far. Back at the front, Dusty leads Brad. They've not pulled away from Biggles, and there's the progress of the Viper for you. 47.8 for Tom Duval. He's 1.72, like almost 2 seconds faster than Biggles and the 2 GTRs. So Tom Duval will want to make quick work of Brad and Dusty as he goes purple. Looks to make the move again, going to the outside. Really seems to favour it. And keeps it on the track. Brad squeezes him as much as he can. This time he'll have the inside heading to the oval, sorry. Brad looks to switch it back to the inside, but that Viper is going to drag him. And now the crucial one for Tom Duval. Does he go? He goes for the push again. I think clearly doesn't want to give the slipstream in the final part of the lap, but he absolutely would have the pace to just blow by Dusty Fossil here, and he may still. Shapes to the inside, but stays behind through the bus stop and all over the back of Dusty already. Gap under a tenth. He's half a second down, Tom Duval, on his best lap, and continues to push Dusty, so looking to leave that move as late as possible. Owen's caught back up to Biggles, so he's not out of this fight at the front. Blue flag has made his way to the front of that train, and presumably will leave Graham well behind. Unsafe and Feber not far off. Any moves potentially gone here? Ross is catching up to Feber. Any team orders? No. And Lee looks interested as he almost runs into the back. of Ross as we go on board with the GTR. Got T Smith, SBY, Andy well in this battle as well. Lee keeping Ross honest, blue flag at the front of that train. And Tom Duval, as you can see on this lap standings, did get the move done. And T Smith now, he's interested in making a move on Lee. Big one for T Smith here, gets on the grass, keeps his foot in it, gets on the brakes and makes the move. And that is why he's a 13-time FTRL champion. But as I say that, gets squirrely and picked up the half-second penalty. So the move futile in the end, as Lee, I think, whacked him into the back, and Fever must have done the same to Unsafe, because Unsafe, or potentially Ross, because Unsafe's dropped behind Fever. And he sticks on the slipstream, heading up to the bus stop. Will Unsafe look to make the move back into P8? He will not. So T Smith with that half second, he is going to lose out. We've got a yellow flag. Who's dropping? There's Bread, and disaster for the GTRs. I'm not sure if he got tangled up with Dusty or just lost it by himself, but running well at the front on his medium tyres in his debut in the GTR with Dusty. And Bread, a mistake at his home track, drops him on back. Zom suggesting a few one stops. So Tom Duval's got a half tank. On mediums, I'd expect him to get to maybe lap 11 or 12. No, he must be going lap 10. Dusty about half a tank. Biggles got a significant amount more fuel, so Biggles looks like he could be going for that one stop. Biggles should be making that one stop. Owen seemingly going for it as well. We're flagging the Viper. Obviously no fuel saving concerns at all over there. Graham, again, a lot of fuel. He looks to be going for a one stop, as does Lee, as does SBY, Andy. Pagani's now making progress. He's up to P10. T Smith, that looks like a one stop. Ross looks like a one stop, as does Unsafe. Bread, close. I don't think so. I don't think Bread's got enough. He's going to need to save a bit more. Fever's a one stop. So yeah, actually, Tom Duval, Dusty, Blue Flag and Pagani may be the only one stoppers. So I think two stoppers. So I think it's the Vipers and Dusty and Bread going for the two stop. I think Lee's going for a one stop. So Derek there saying Italy going for the one stop. Yeah, I must admit I hadn't really got to thinking about fuel yet, but it is going to be the Vipers against the one stop. I don't think the two is going to work out for Dusty and Bread. So it's what can Lee do, as Pagani makes the move on him and SBY over the line. So Pagani, despite that mishap on lap 2, making good progress here, as I believe he and Blue Flag will stop at the end of lap 8, if the team chat is anything to go by from earlier in the week. So 13 seconds off Tom Duval, absolutely time for Pagani to make that up, but it is going to be the Vipers against the one stop. T Smith and those Peugeots not really making any progress. They're up to 8th, 10th and 11th. Fever's in, so Fever's not going for the one stop. He gets off those hards early after the error. No, sorry, that's him coming in for his lap, yeah. So, no error, I'm just forgetting the 2:26 is his pit lap. Bread off the back of Unsafe. These guys, Ross and Smith, separated, but then you've got Andy, Lee, SBY, Pagani in a battle. So Pagani not been able to drop SBY yet, but rapidly coming on to the back of Graham here. He's going to be within the slipstream. We'll go to the onboard cam, why not? Pagani's 6th, 10th, that's down to. So he's going to have slipstream as long as he gets this right. But we may see. No, I believe he and Blue Flag will go another lap. Blue Flag will be the indicator up ahead. So 6/10 as they round the oval. That's already 5. Blue Flag's made a move on Biggles for P3, and even driving it, it's staggering to see the pace of the Viper with slipstream, as Pagani seemingly does his fastest lap. I think that's meant to be a 47.9 on lap 7. But he absolutely flies by Graham before they even got to the braking zone. As I said, Blue Flag made a move on Biggles, so he's up into P3. So you got first, third and sixth for the Vipers on the 2-stop. Tom Duval's built up a 5.5 second gap to Dusty already. I don't think Dusty's going to make the 2-stop here. I really don't. But we see the rest of them just coming past half a tank of fuel now. So these guys will absolutely... Everyone besides Brett and Fever now, obviously. But the Vipers and Brett and Dusty are going to be doing 2. The rest will make the 1-stop work comfortably on fuel. For the Vipers, it's about getting out ahead and just building that gap in clean air. Owen tucked in behind his teammate Biggles. He looks to just nudge him forward. And Biggles is going to let Owen go. So that's an interesting decision. Biggles, the only Germany driver, picking up full points tonight. But Owen potentially quick, well, on those mediums will be quicker at the moment. So now if you're Biggles, you need Owen to drag you forward. But that's not going to happen. Owen picks up a 1 second penalty, and that's huge. That may even drop Owen into the clutches of Pagani, who's now broken that slipstream from Graham. And SBY, Graham in a little battle. Lee's dropped back and now falling to so Blue Flag in. And Pagani should be in as well. Yes, he is. So about a quarter of a tank for those two. They'll now look to do 10 laps each on the mediums. As we'll go to SBY and Graham. SBY still sitting in behind Graham. He's the furthest forward Peugeot and he's on medium, so he's going to be slower in the second half over Andy and T. Smith. Really for SBY, for the tyre advantage, only a second or two ahead of his teammates. That's not working out too great for him, it would seem. So Fever picks up a half second. Pagani and Blue Flag should come out ahead of him comfortably. Brad still struggling in the 50s. What are our battles here? It's really the midfield where it's going on. Biggles back ahead of Owen, obviously didn't fall into the clutches of Pagani due to the penalty, so that saves Owen a little bit. So the battle to watch now is Graham, SBY, Lee, Andy, T. Smith, Ross. As once again we've got ourselves a midfield train, all vying for position. Lee's going to slip away from slipstream range and should come under fire from Andy at some point in this lap. But Andy not going to make any inroads yet. SBY down into third, quickly change gears and back onto the power as soon as you can, shifting very early obviously to save that fuel. That is not really going to get the slipstream here, Andy. Lee though is making big inroads to SBY and Graham, so he's really going to drag himself into this battle. Fastest lap of the race for Lee as well. Gets on the brakes, tucked in as tight as he dares. Andy gets a little bit wide in the background. And Lee tucks in behind SBY again. So Lee going well in that GTR, sticking in the midfield, looking to give himself a chance later on. SBY remaining patient behind Graham. Well, yeah, I think they all know they're on 1-stops now, you would think. So really, for these guys, it's a case of just keeping themselves in the battle till the end of the race, not losing touch. Owen's sticking with Biggles, but obviously on those mediums. Now Tom Duval should be in at the end of this lap. He's built up a 12-second gap to Dusty, so this is where the one-stop midfield battle may harm them, because Tom Duval has built up 20-25 seconds to them. He's obviously going to have those 2 stops, but the pace difference should be such with the clean air that I would make him the favourite, but it's really going to come down to how much fuel he has. So he's going to do another lap, so Tom Duval perhaps looking to do less time on those hards. So go to the back, Pagani and Blue Flag. So so 2:14 and 2:10 for them, obviously gain time compared to Fever's stop. Quickly making inroads, so we'll see what their lap times are at the end of the time. As you see, Blue Flag half a second up, so they're starting to motor up to bread quickly. But so Blue Flag's 58 and a half behind, and Unsafe's about 28. So to this midfield battle, the Vipers of Pagani and Blue Flag about 30 seconds, 35 seconds behind. Obviously they'll get a lot of time when these guys fill up the whole tank, but I think they're going to have some overtaking to do, certainly to get through the midfield. Dusty on the medium tyres in the GTR though, running a much better race than he was able to last night, as he is up about 14 seconds behind Tom Duval there. Bit of a gap. He's obviously on that fuel, not going to make the one-stop work, but I think he should get another lap in here, Dusty, so perhaps 12:4:12 for Dusty. Obviously that what is 14 seconds now, that's going to harm his chances later on. Biggles still leads Owen. These guys about a quarter of a tank now for the one-stop runners. There's actually, look there, Owen and Biggles a little less fuel, so I think maybe some 7 minutes earners. Tom Duval is expectedly in now. The key for Tom Duval is he is 58 seconds ahead of Blue Flag and Pagani. So we'll see where Tom Duval comes out. I would imagine he'd be about 10 seconds up the road. Dusty also in. So Biggles will inherit the lead of the race, with Owen in tow. So one-stop runners, it's looking good for Germany thus far. SBY just ahead of Lee, so SBY's fallen away, but Lee sticking with him. Has Lee got by Graham? He must have done. Yeah, I think Lee's got by Graham. I can't remember the midfield running order. So yeah, Lee into P4 again, running well in that Viper. God, I'm having a nightmare. Running well in the GTR on those hard tyres, and that's the crucial one for him over SBY and Owen, is those hard tyres on the opening stint. T. Smith and Andy still battling with Ross. Unsafe in a bit of no man's land. So Tom Duval. So Tom Duval's gone short stint on the hards next. So he's about 15-16 seconds ahead of Blue Flag and Pagani. So the key for the Vipers is how far ahead they can jump when those one-stoppers come in, as Tom Duval got a little squirrely there. And now I think we play the waiting game for these one-stoppers. No one really making overtakes or wants to go for them. Can't imagine T. Smith's going to make a move on Andy unless there's a mistake. Graham still going well in that Lamborghini, up in P5. So we've got Biggles in the lead. Who's the lowest one-stopper? Yeah, so the top 9 are all our one-stoppers. And Unsafe's 12.5 seconds. There's about 12.5 seconds separates the one-stops at the moment. Second half of the race, SBY and Odon are going to be at the disadvantage, as they are on the mediums this stint. But I don't think Owen's going to make 2 more laps, you know. Biggles should, SBY will, Lee will, Graham, Andy, Tom, Ross, Unsafe, all definitely will, but Owen's lower on fuel. So is Owen perhaps doing the same as last night and splash and dashing the hards? So it'll be interesting to see what tire he comes out on, because I really don't think he's going to get 2 more laps in, Owen. He can't, there's no way he does. So Owen's maybe going to do 13 laps on the mediums and 2 for a splash and dash on the hards. And Graham now right on the back of Lee. Will we see a move made, or will he be content to just nudge Lee along, try and build a bigger gap to the Peugeots? Yeah, Graham just sticking in behind. Brad and Dusty. So they Dusty full fueled on hards. Brad will have his second stop in the not too distant future. So yeah, Pagani trails Blue Flag by 4 seconds. So in the 47. So Owen's in, yeah. So Owen's surely got to be 2-stopping this, unless he's going to do 15 on hards. And he's going to now drop. So now as we head on to lap 14, the top 8 will all be doing their final laps. Biggles is borderline here. So SBY, yeah, Biggles seems to have the least fuel, and he's quite low on fuel. So maybe some extreme saving this lap to make sure they get round. But where you're looking for the gains for the Vipers is going to be what the fueling's here. Owen still fueling, and Tom Duval already way past. Blue Flag past him, as is Pagani. So yeah, Vipers now making their gains as everyone else makes their 1 stop. Or will make their 1 stop at the end of this lap, sorry. And the question is, are they going to have to work their way through traffic at the end of the race when they've done their second stop? So the Vipers should all be in on lap 18. So it's only going to be a few laps before they come in, as they're, you know, all down to half a tank already. But we'll follow Biggles through. And actually, SBY's made some distance. This is what I thought. Biggles, lower on fuel, has had to really save to make sure he gets it, and he still might hit. I think Biggles is going to come in on 0 fuel. He may even run out before he gets there. That's got to be 0.1 of a lap. SBY right on the back of him now. That tank is empty. He gets in on an empty tank. So SBY should leap Biggles with a bit of fuel. Lee with a bit of fuel, and he's going to lose positions potentially to Tom, just because even the 1 or 2 percentage will make all the difference with the slow refuel rate. Tom Duval was 14 seconds clear of Dusty when he stopped, and yet no one's even fueling yet as Tom Duval makes his way past. So Tom Duval, I believe, in pole position for the win here. Blue Flag goes by as everyone's about to quarter a tank. Pagani passed as well. So I think this is going to be tougher for Blue Flag and Pagani, obviously. They're about 13 to 17 seconds behind Blue Flag and Tom Duval. So they're about where Dusty was when Tom Duval and Dusty made their first stops. They should close on Tom Duval a bit as well, with Tom on the hards. Owen, stopping the lap earlier, overtakes the 1-stoppers. Does he? Just comes out ahead of Graham. He's actually behind Biggles and SBY, so Owen stopped a lap earlier and he's lost out time. Bread's now in the middle of this. He's going to be stopping in a few laps. But Bread could really affect this 1-stop running, because he is in the middle of all of them. Graham looking to put some distance between himself and Lee as he goes for the move on Owen on those cold, hard tyres. Owen runs wide and Lee sees an opportunity, but Owen just able to drag to the outside. So we'll stick on board with this midfield battle, because this action is going to heat up this second half. Lee's gained 2 seconds to T. Smith and Andy. So Andy again, as I say, on that empty tank, loses out to T. Smith in the pit stops. And Lee all over the back of Owen. Does he opt to go for the move? He does, so not going to push Owen to try and stick with Graham. Lee going to make the move, and he's comfortably made it, so Owen backs out. So Owen in a bit of trouble here, especially if he two-stops this. I really think Owen needed to try and eke out that extra lap, but he just didn't seem to have the fuel. T. Smith got Andy all over him. Can they work together to pull away from Ross? Unsafe, currently running last, but again not a million miles away. Out front, Tom Duval sort of holding 13 seconds to blue flag and 17 to Pagani, and Pagani's got 10 seconds to Fieber, who's also on a two-stop. So Pagani 16, Dusty 35 on a two-stop. Pagani's got about a 22 second gap to SBY. So putting a full tank of fuel in, those Vipers are going to come out a long way behind these one-stop runners. So I think Pagani and Blue Flag may need to actually work their way through the whole field here. I can't remember exactly how the timings work out for them. Tom Duval, I think, is going to have to make some overtakes as well, because it's about 25 seconds before you even pit. So Fieber should be coming up to the pit lane. Fieber's 25, Dusty. SBY will be going past maybe 10 seconds after Tom Duval starts fueling, but SBY has made an error here, and Biggles looking to take advantage as SBY after that are forced onto the high part of the oval, and he's going to be on the outside for the bus stop, but it will give him the advantage through the second half, but it won't matter. Biggles pulls in front, and I think SBY, playing the long game, has to at this stage, as they are at the front of the one-stop runners. And now for them, it'll be working towards Dusty. Graham leading Lee still, with Owen in the middle of this battle. He's caught by Tom, Andy and Ross, as Ross pushes Andy. Those one-stop runners now, 2 or 3 laps done on those tyres, they'll start to settle in. Owen, I think, starting to get to grips with his hard tyres, a 52 and a 50, so 2 poor laps for Owen. But is that a sign that he's trying to one-stop this? I think if Owen does 2, he's obviously well out of this, and I think that's the mistake Owen has made if he does do 2 stops by going to 13, as he should have. If he'd just maybe gone a bit slower, eked out that 14th lap, as T. Smith goes by him, and based on that pace difference, I think Owen is going to have to, well, he's trying to eke out a one-stop, as Ross has also got by Andy. Unsafe, coming up to the back of Bread, who's got to make his second stop soon. So Bread also going to be a long way back, and in GT1, the one-stop proving to be the better strategy thus far. The question is, will the pace of the Vipers override it? As you can see, just a huge gap between those front 4, and then you get to Dusty and it all starts to bunch up a bit, but just over 10 laps to go, about 11 left. Nice Vipers, you see 47s, tough lap for Tom Duval on the 16th, but yeah, low 47s. And you're looking at Fieber's in the 49s, he comes in for his final stop. Dusty will be running for a bit longer, but you look at the one-stop runners, 49s from Biggles, 50 from SBY, 49 from Graham, so it is absolutely going to come down to the pace of those Vipers, because even though they've got to do a full stop, they're going to be 1.5, 2 seconds a lap faster when they come in at the end of this lap. So on that basis, they're going to make up 15, 20 seconds. I think Pagani and Blue Flag may just fall too far back, Tom Duval by 40 seconds to the furthermost one-stop runner in Biggles. So I think Tom Duval is going to come out about 10-15 seconds behind Biggles. So he should be just behind Unsafe. So I mean, even Tom Duval may have to work his way all the way through this pack to pick up the win. So Fieber, that's bred into the pits. But Tom Duval in for his final stop. Blue Flag and Pagani will also come in, and then you've got that huge gap from the Vipers to Dusty Fossil as we enter the last set of stops. Pagani in. Dusty should maybe go. He's got half a tank and he's on 6 laps. I think Dusty's going to do 4 or 5 at the end on a second stop. I think. Yeah, there's no way he does 10 laps on half a tank. But this is the crucial moment. Biggles with some assistance from Dusty. When do those Vipers start refueling? Tom Duval's fueling now. So he's at about a quarter of a tank as Biggles goes past them on track. Where does Tom Duval come out? And it's going to be a full tank. I still going, and this is what I mean. Unsafe's going past here. So even Tom Duval. So he does 94. Where has he come out? Just ahead of Unsafe Release. So Tom Duval, 11 seconds to the lead. But he's got to work his way through the lap traffic. Blue Flag, what's his gap? 12 seconds to Unsafe. Pagani 5 behind. So despite the pace, Blue Flag and Pagani, really, I think you're just looking to maybe get into that top 10, top 8 maybe. I think the difference is shown, and that Tom Duval on those mediums just flew to the front of the field, whereas Pagani and Blue Flag on those hards was a much more calculated and slower approach, and not cost them. You know, they're not a million miles behind, but 24 seconds and 10 laps. I just don't see it happening. They're going to have to be 2.4 a lap faster. What was Biggles' last lap? Biggles did a 48.5. So if you're Blue Flag and Pagani, you need to find another half a second from your best laps to even like catch the front of the pack, and that's before you even try and overtake them. So for now, we'll stick with SBY and Biggles at the front. Biggles just out of slipstream range. So this is your podium at the moment. An Audi, a Peugeot and a Lamborghini, but Graham in that Lamborghini under pressure from Lee, and I think a top 3 in that GTR would be a fantastic result for Lee. Would keep him in the hunt at the front for the podium spots, keep pace with SBY heading into the final 2 weeks. But Lee did a 48.9, Graham 49. So I think, everyone's doing 49s. Whereas Blue Flag Pagani, you're looking at 47s, low 47s. They need everyone up front to slow down or to get into those 46s. Blue Flag's pulled a second to Unsafe, but like I say, that's just to catch Unsafe at the moment. So yeah, Blue Flag and Pagani, I think for them this is going to be a case of getting into the top 10. Tom Duval has cleared Owen, so this is the man to watch. He led pretty much every lap until his second stop. And now has the task of cutting his way through this field. 9 seconds to the lead. He needs about a second a lap, but he's going to have to make these moves quick. Tom Duval, he cannot afford to spend, more than a lap stuck behind anyone. And again, goes for this strategy of pushing the car ahead. Around the final part of the lap, it's not going to matter, but he's got to be careful. He doesn't push them closer together in there. Does the right thing, gets by Andy, He will not be under any trouble, or any pressure, sorry, going into turn 1. He's half a second down on his fastest lap to get by Andy. A second and a half to Tom Smith. 8.5 to the lead for Tom Duval. As we go to the front, SBY just losing touch with Biggles. There's Lee, and you can see that Viper. You'll be able to see that podium, see that race leader just up ahead. And now blue flag starts to make some inroads. 2 seconds to unsafe. So I think, you know, maybe in and around where Tom Duval is now is where Pagani and blue flag can realistically hope to get. I think with everyone on the one stop, just a bit too much ground to make up after those opening laps. Pagani as well with the opening mishap. So the Vipers will be looking for big points to come from Tom Duval as they come onto the oval again, and he closes that gap under a second to T. Smith, and he's quickly going to get in the slipstream, and he's genuinely an opportunity to kill 2 birds with 1 stone out of the bus stop into turn 1, because he's only half a second behind T. Smith, and he's absolutely nailed the bus stop. T. Smith's made a move on Ross, and Tom Duval is going to pick up the pieces and flies past Ross into P6, and he is going to close that half second to T. Smith in absolutely no time. He's halved it in the space of about 200-300 metres. We'll go on board to the outside. T. Smith tucks in behind in the mirrors. See him in the onboard computer, and 2 moves in 1 straight with ease for Tom Duval. P5 gap to Biggles under 7 seconds, as just ahead of him Lee continues to sit behind Graham. Lee perhaps leaving that move as late as he dare, and perhaps believing he's not going to catch SBY and Biggles, especially with them all saving fuel, all doing around 49 flats, 41 ones. Biggles does a 48.8 that lap, so Biggles just eking out a gap over SBY. And as we go further back, blue flag again. It's 2 seconds he's taken out of unsafe, but he really needs those lap times to be in the low 47s, and that is the disadvantage he and Pagani have got over Tom Duval, as they do not have that slipstream assistance, and neither of them will for a long time. They should both get into the top 10. I would expect them both to clear the Audis of Owen and unsafe, but yeah, I think in and around T. Smith, Ross and Andy is where they're going to hope to get, because there's not enough laps unless they start banging in lap times in the 46s. Just not enough time for them to make up that ground. Dusty and Brad, unfortunately, again, low points for the GTRs. Not been their night. Fever on the 2-stop is going to have to settle for P13 as well. So back to the front, and I said Biggles was pulling away from SBY. SBY is putting a 48.5, getting himself into slipstream, so he's got a chance to make a move on Biggles for the lead. Lee again 2.5 tenths behind Graham, but now a charging Viper into the mix as Tom Duval into the infield hairpin cuts that gap below the slipstream range. So Lee spent all this time trying to set up Graham, and I would imagine very quickly is going to find a Viper flying by him. Whether Lee can use Tom Duval overtaking him to get alongside and past Graham, we shall wait and see, but we'll stick with Tom Duval. We don't want to miss any moment of this charge through the field. I believe it came out P10, I think it was, down to unsafe and Owen. And Tom Duval, again, leading into the bus stop, likes to give those drivers a nudge. Doesn't want to make the move before he can use the huge advantage of the bus stop, but will pull alongside Lee. And Lee backs out, knows Tom Duval is not his race. But Tom Duval gets out of shape, and Lee, absolutely incredibly, pulls back ahead of Tom Duval, who got the bus stop all wrong. Now, Tom Duval should still clear these two with ease. But Lee, can he use Tom Duval to get by Graham? Here goes Tom Duval on the high side of Lee, and Lee tucks him behind, looking to make a move on Graham. Graham to the inside, bit of a nudge with Lee, almost into Tom Duval, but Tom Duval makes the move on Graham as well. We'll stick with Lee for a second. Can he make the move on Graham? Goes to the outside. Graham holds the inside nicely. And Lee will have to continue to persist behind the Lamborghini. As we look further back, Andy has Ross not far behind. Blue flag has cleared Owen, and Pagani right on the back of Owen. And blue flag 48-1, so he's struggling, but Pagani may be able to help him shortly. As we'll go to Pagani, and I can't imagine Pagani is going to waste any time here. To the inside, late on the brakes. Owen should actually one-stop this, but he's going to fall way behind. Now look at that fuel. I think that lap 13 stop hurt Owen. So Pagani, can he and blue flag clear unsafe and make a late charge towards Ross, Andy and T. Smith? It's going to be close, but it will have to be right at the end of the race for those positions. So not the charge they would have been hoping for in the Viper. SBY has made the move on Biggles, but that could be crucial. Tom Duval in his charge pulls himself a half-second penalty, so he's not going to get the move here, but he should have the pace for the final 4 laps to still make a charge at them. How far does he fall back? Biggles onto the inside of SBY. And he's still within 8/10, Tom Duval, so they're not going to get rid of him that easily. Tom Duval just needs to keep it clean through the bus stop, and the victory should be his. We'll stay at the front. Tom Duval, does he look to make any moves on the infield section? He's opted not to do so thus far, and I think the sensible thing with the Viper strengths would be to allow SBY and Biggles to carry him through the infield. Does he go for the move on SBY here? He will. Gets it stopped. SBY looking for the switchback. Tom Duval holds it. Crucially has the inside line this time, as we've seen him on the outside a lot tonight. SBY knows he's not going to make that pass. Stick. He's got to stick with Tom Duval if he can. Use as much slipstream to stay with Biggles. And we're going to stick with this, because we're going to want to see the move for the lead. Tom Duval absolutely racing up to the back of Biggles. The power from the Viper is just ridiculous. Out of a straight line. Tom Duval does not go for the move into the bus stop. Now he needs to keep it clean, avoid the penalties. He looks good there. And as we approach the final 3 laps, Tom Duval, you can see the time he's losing here. He's a second slower than his best lap. Gives Biggles a nudge, doesn't make the move too early, and gives Biggles some slipstream into turn 1. Gives him a nudge again, maybe. No, he doesn't. Oh, he tucks back in briefly. I don't think he's got his move as cleanly as he would have liked. Yeah, Tom Duval. Oh, Biggles! Tom Duval, much the quicker driver on tyres and fuel, but Biggles just sort of shaped to the outside there and really gives it to him for free. But with 3 laps to go, that should be all she wrote for the race win, as Tom Duval makes the pass on Biggles, already pulling out 7/10. And that'll be maximum points for the lead Viper, 2 nights in a row. Further back, SBY just adrift of Biggles. Lee losing touch with Graham ever so slightly. T. Smith just away from Andy and Ross. Blue flags and Pagani have made the moves on unsafe release, but with 3 laps to go, they have 5 seconds to Ross That's got to be 2 seconds a lap and more, because I already, partway through this lap. So, I mean, honestly, blue flag, sort of needs to let Pagani get into that toe and just try and bump draft each other round. Not where they would have hoped, but again, they're only 13 seconds behind Tom Duval, but those one stops have been so crucial for the remainder of the grid to deny what would have otherwise been a really comfy 1, 2, 3 for the Vipers. And it has to be said, with a 13-14 second gap, had blue flag and Pagani got through the field quicker, had Pagani not made that earlier mistake, we could have very easily seen them in the midst of the pack right now, working their way forward. And Ross is actually going to fall back a little bit, so a chance for blue flag potentially here. He'll leak some time back, he'll leak a lot of time probably. As you see, it was 4.2 to Ross, and yeah, Ross, half-second penalty. Blue flag's made a second on him by the line, so that will be welcome for blue flag. T. Smith still leading Andy through, as this is still great points for Team France thus far. Lee, again, as he has been seemingly all night, with 2 laps to go, half a second behind Graham. When does Lee make his move? SBY, as you can see, fallen away from Biggles, who's lost 3 seconds to Tom Duval already. 49.5 per lap from him. But yeah, Tom Duval's got this win wrapped up. Graham, he's a second off SBY, and suddenly we have a 3-car battle for the podium, the final podium spot, with Lee on par with his best lap thus far. These 3 converging, and it's crucial welcome points for Japan as they just look for a bit of dignity this week after what's been a tough one for them around Daytona. Lee, can he put a bit of a smile on what's been a rough week for the GTRs? Oh, I don't know if he's going to pick up a penalty there. Seems to have got away. No, he doesn't. And that'll kill Lee's charge for the podium. Real shame. He's been on the back of Graham all race, and then picks up a half second at the bus stop. So it'll be Graham and SBY for that final podium spot. Does Graham go for the move as we head on to the final lap for these 2? Pulls to the outside. Similar fuel. Graham actually pulls ahead before the braking zone, gets the move done. And now, can he hold it? We'll go further back. And here we go. This is what I mean. Blue flag, I should get Ross, but I don't think he's going to make up that time. They say you're looking at P8, maybe P9 for Pagani. So, despite only being within 15 seconds of their teammate, not going to be the points haul they were hoping for. Andy will make a move on T. Smith at the end of this race, and he should win the championship anyway, but anything will do. SBY's teammate, his nearest contender, and not only is Graham got by SBY has actually fallen back towards Lee. Can Lee salvage P4? I don't think so. No, second only increasing. Is there any time? Oh, it's actually coming back down now. Can Lee make a last ditch run at SBY for the line? T. Smith's really low on fuel. SBY, actually Lee might get this on fuel. He's got a bit more than SBY. He's closed in all the way to the back of Lee. Or to the back of Lee, to the back of SBY. Half a second. We'll come back to that in a second, but here he comes. A beautiful drive, a masterful drive. Tom Duval for back-to-back race victories in the endurance for the Vipers. Biggles will come home in P2, sorry. Graham will take P3. Lee does get the move on SBY for P4. Andy has got by T. Smith and takes the position. Blue flag P8, Ross a second ahead of Pagani for P9 and P10. Unsafe will come over the line in P11, and what's been a tough week for Germany. And ground severely lost to France, regardless of their double points week. Owen P12. I believe he's going to run out of fuel any second now. Yeah, Owen runs out of fuel just close enough to the line to avoid interesting fever, and then a tough week for the GTRs as Dusty comes home to collect P14, 58 seconds off the lead, and Brad, who for good measure picks up a half-second penalty on the final lap, as we'll watch him round out this evening's race. But yeah, again, a brilliant drive from Tom Duval on the two-stop, showing that Viper's pace and the key to his victory, cutting through the field in that opening stint with the mediums. Biggles leads the one-stoppers with a brilliant P2 for him. Graham picks up a very handy P3, and it was Lee P4. SBY, Andy and T. Smith in a row once again for 5th, 6th and 7th for Team France. Again, big points for them and needed points with Germany's double points week upcoming, as those two battle it out for the team's title. Blue Flag salvages P8 in the end. Again, brilliant drive on the two-stop, but those one-stops proving why they needed to do it, as I think that those opening stints on the hards, I think, is where Pagani and Blue Flag will feel they went wrong. Just couldn't cut through the field like Tom Duval did, and as you see there, Blue Flag 7 seconds from Biggles in P2, and perhaps being on the mediums in that opening stint would have put him in position to at least attack these guys more or be ahead of them. Bottom half of the grid, Ross P9 in the Lambo as Blue Flag got him at the end. Pagani P10 again, earlier error, and on the hards in that first stint, perhaps denying him a chance to put the Vipers in a position for a 1-2-3. Unsafe, about 6 seconds behind on the one stop. Not his night, but Germany will take all the points they can get, and no, they've got their double points week, so they won't feel too bad, I don't think. Owen, P12, and I think that decision to not get the 14 laps in the first stint costs him there, as he finishes 40 seconds off the pace and almost 20 behind unsafe, as he ran out of fuel at the end. Feber in P13, and then the GTRs, not Dusty's night or week, and nor for Brad. And as you say, Derek, brilliant drive from Tom Duval. Graham, a fantastic result in P3. Maybe would have feel like a couple of tenths here and there, he could have challenged for P2. But the story of the night is Tom Duval's two-stop. A 46.7. I don't think anyone else did a 47. No, Blue Flag did a 47 flat. But yeah, that Viper's pace, so much better. But unfortunately for Blue Flag and Pagani, just not enough laps at the end, and maybe wishing they'd started on the mediums instead. But we will see how that shakes out the team standings in a couple of days when I get the standings out. But just want to say thank you very much, everyone. Hopefully I won't need to do this again, because that was stressful. I don't know how Lee and Zach do it every week. But yeah, thank you very much, and we'll catch you all next week for Bathurst.